Good day, everyone. Welcome to an episode of Carpo's Thoughts, or something along those lines. Not to be cheesy, I've never really named my channel or my videos or, Carpology or Carpo's Corner. It's just, I don't really care. Naming the nameless, my subject matter changes so much. And, I'm just a guy talking about life. And, sometimes there's subject matter that it's not that I don't want to touch on it, it's just that it's just there's such iffy subjects that people have such varying opinions about, and some of them seem very egotistical to even talk about. One of them being the one I'm going to talk about here, which is enlightenment. Thinking back on my videos, I've mentioned the word now and again, enlightenment, but I've very rarely make any videos that have to do with that subject matter, merely because of the associations that it has, that, especially in Western society, we seem to think that enlightenment is a state that has reached plateau. And that's just not the case. Now, I came across this. You see, the reason why I wanted to say talking about it is because if you're talking about enlightenment, then people assume that you're assuming you're enlightened, and therefore, how do you have the right to say that you're enlightened? Basically, the old circular is like, well, if you claim to be enlightened, you're not enlightened. So, I'm definitely not here claiming to be enlightened, but I'm rather delving into the subject and the definition. A slogan that I came up with, maybe I heard it. Sometimes you have something in your mind that you don't know if you came up with it or not, but it was that enlightenment is not discovered, it's uncovered. And so to me that would be the apocalypse to enlightenment. I guess maybe that would be a good title to the video. The word apocalypse, has carried so many connotations with it, just like the word enlightenment. People hear enlightenment and they think of a guru who's all wise, and then they hear the word apocalypse and they think of hellfire and brimstone and the end of the world. The truth is that neither are quite correct. See, what I meant by enlightenment is not discovered, it's uncovered. You discover something, when you find it. Enlightenment is always there. We just pull off the layers and the sheets that cover it up. Think of it as, you're born with this ball of light, this all-inclusive awareness, and as your parents teach you things, school teaches you things, you just pile more and more blankets on top of this light until it's so dim, the light just can't shine through anymore. And the more you uncover, the more you'll start to see that dim glow, and then the faster you'll want to pull those blankets off until eventually, there's the light. But it's one of those elusive things. And once you get to the light, you realize it wasn't a light at all. But it's like one of those unattainable things that you're always looking, oh, it's over there now. It's over there now. But the word apocalypse means an unveiling or a revealing. So it's the connotations that it has as being, hellfire, brimstone, does not relate. It does not even compute with me. It doesn't fit in. When people even talk about the end times, it doesn't necessarily have to have negative connotation, but we give it human attributes, like we always do. We sort of project our fears onto what we think the future might be like. If it's not fear of a higher power, it's fear of our fellow man, or fear of something, but fear is an addiction. It's a disease, rather. It's a very harsh disease that causes stress and premature death. Put it this way, I'd rather be a heroin addict all my life than be in fear all my life. You'll live longer. Don't take that verbatim, but that's an example of what I mean. A person can maintain a drug habit, but it's very difficult to maintain a negative thinking habit or a fear habit because it eats you up. I mean, we know much more about it now. The body creates cortisol and shuts down production of rational thinking. When a person's angry in a conversation, this is why they tell you to walk away and come back. When you're in a conversation and you get angry, your brain shuts down critical thinking and gets into fight or flight mode. It begins to produce cortisol and adrenaline, and you just cannot say what you really mean. And this is why people say hurtful things they don't mean. It's a defense, a lashing out. If they can't physically lash out, then they're gonna tell you how they feel, even if it's not how they feel. So anyway, calm, collective, rational thinking. And when I'm not calm and collected, then I miss things. And I especially miss small unveilings, if you will. Call it an apocalypse or whatever you like. I have found some awarenesses in my life that, they took me years to attain and finally go, okay, this is something I can understand or believe in. And then it just gets stripped right out from under you. It's the reality, the laugh, the Zen corner. There's always me standing over here watching myself, and then there's also this joker back here watching both of us, and on and on. Feeling the incorporation in the world, that you're part of it, that you're one, that the world works with you, not against you. So enlightenment has nothing to do with what you know, how much knowledge you have. It has something to do with wisdom, but because wisdom is something that's a byproduct of enlightenment. You can't attain a degree of understanding without researching the whole of life to understand what you're trying to understand. Just as well, enlightenment for each culture may be different, and there may be varying degrees of the said term, but the idea for me is the importance in life, and the reason why enlightenment is important. We need to understand ourselves. We need to understand why we do the things we do. For example, habits. And I'm constantly in full awareness of everything that I do. If I make a cup of coffee and put an extra teaspoon of sugar in there, if I fail to fulfill an obligation to myself or to someone else, if I am doing something I shouldn't be doing when I know I could be getting something done, and all of these things I'm constantly aware of. I'm aware of all my own behaviors, and I think that this has helped me to understand my motives a little better. And one of the moments where I stepped back and really saw the big picture was, after all the years going through my teens and my 20s and all the shit that I dealt with, and thinking I was just this badass, and have some attitude, and I was always a nice guy, but always got to be smarter and always got to be right. And then I got older and I realized, of course, the older you get, the more you know, the less you realize you know, kind of thing. But I became comfortable in my own shoes with just who I am and what I know, and realized that if more people could feel this way, without putting themselves down. You see, you hit a point where you've got to realize you don't put yourself down. You are awesome, you are great, you are the shit. But don't let it go to your head, because you'll know your mistakes. It doesn't mean that you're perfect. In other words, we've got to love ourselves, but have the balance to understand what we need to take care of. And, everybody has their own way of doing it. And some of you will, tell life what you want from it. Others will say, what does life want from me? In other words, some people want to serve themselves, some people want to serve nature, some people want to serve others. And there's no right or wrong. It's a big puzzle, the entirety of it all. That's an understatement, big puzzle. But just the spoken and the unspoken, the things that are just too magnificent to understand, such as, say, the size of the universe. And we've got these scientists doing calculations saying, no, there's multiple universes. Oh no, well, the universe is this big and this far across. No, there's levels, there's layers of existence. Oh, well, there's at least 11 dimensions. You can see it written right here. It's plain as day. All of that's just fodder, because it doesn't help us understand anything as a society. In other words, the math is a language all its own, and it's teaching the people who can utilize that. Things about our universe, but until that can be either expressed or conveyed to other people, it merely just sits as an equation. And the problem they had with string theory was that there were 10 different ones. Or I think there were 5 different ones, I think it was. And one guy finally came along and he did the math again and he went through all 5 of them and they were all right. All of these equations were right. They all were totally different, but they all expressed the same truth about the universe, or so they think. And that is that hits home when you compare that to all equations, to all ideas, to all the things that we think. When I have an idea that's right, and you have an idea that's right, and they conflict, we can both still be right. There isn't always a right and wrong. There are more ways than one to approach every situation. Now that is the key, because one person's saying we need peace in the Middle East, another person's saying we need war. Let's just take that just bold example there. Neither one of those are well thought out. You can't just say we need peace and have peace, nor can you just say we need war without declaring exactly what the war will be about or for. Somewhere in the middle lies the truth, like always. Both people may be right. Maybe we need a war to achieve peace. Or maybe too much peace will lead to a further, bigger war down the road. I always try to look at everything from 2 perspectives at least. And an example is that I once said that there's a positive that can come out of anything. And I had somebody ask me, well, how do you find a positive in the bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki? And I said, that's the easy one. By dropping the bomb, when we were the only ones to have the bomb, it showed the world how bad things could really be, and how nasty humans can be, and what a bomb can do to a society. So by the time the rest of the world built their nuclear arsenal, which was bound to happen, there was no more questioning what might happen if it hit a population. By now we might have gone into and annihilated ourselves. In other words, perhaps the bomb saved us, and it sounds silly, but nobody can say that's right or wrong. It's just how it is. It's not an issue because it's in the past. If you want to get into the time issue, past, present, and future, that time being another dimension of space, that's one of the most just amazing things to me too. And we've all seen it in the sci-fi movies. Somebody travels out across the galaxy, comes back, and everybody they know is old or dead, and that's the truth. That's scientific fact. A lot of people don't know. They've done experiments with atomic clocks. Put one on a 747 jumbo jet and flew it around the Earth a bunch of times while they had a clock on the ground set at the exact same time. And when the plane landed, the one on the ground had actually gone faster. And this is because the heavier gravity, the faster the time. Time doesn't exist without gravity, without space. But I don't know, I'm sorry I'm getting into all this crazy shit about space, because I'm sitting here talking about, apocalypse and unveiling and enlightenment, but these are the things that once understood, not understanding how all this stuff works, but understanding that we're not meant to understand how all this stuff works, that the universe is designed complex for a reason, that if there is a God, there's no way, in hell, no pun intended, that we're going to understand him, it, her, them, on any level within the human reality, except for through a lens, and that lens that we have is nature and math, and these are the lenses we use to see the world. So, I am being summoned now by my son, so I'll talk to you all soon, and hope to revisit this important